just played for you Liebesleid, written for violin and piano by the legendary violinist Fritz Kreisler. Liebesleid means love's sorrow. And Rachmaninoff had a great deal of sorrow in his heart when he transcribed his version of Liebesleid in 1921 when he was living in New York City. 4 years earlier, he had fled in the middle of the night with his wife and 2 young children with a little bit of music and 1 suitcase for all of them to get out of Russia during the Bolshevik Russian Revolution of 1917. It was a matter of urgency that he leave immediately, and he left everything behind, including his beloved family estate, Ivanovka, where he did so much of his composing. He adored that environment, and he was never to return again to that setting. So he turned to the form of the transcription. It's really all he had time for. He was so busy trying to make a living in the United States with a massive concertizing schedule. But being able to compose a transcription was perfect for him at this time. And he honored Fritz Kreisler. They were actually friends and knew each other during this time. And he kept all of the themes. He kept all the grace and the charm and loveliness. And he added as well his own improvisatory and virtuosic elements, making this really a standout for the solo classical repertoire. I really love this piece. And it has special meaning for me, which I will get into later. But right now I want to get into how Rachmaninoff keeps Kreisler's Liebesleid and how he changes it. Kreisler's Liebesleid begins like this with the violin part. And drops a step. Repeats the idea for another 4-measure phrase. And drops 1 more step for the 3rd 4-measure phrase. And the 4th and concluding 4-measure phrase. That's what the violin plays. Rachmaninoff keeps all of that. But he doesn't begin with that. He begins with a 2-measure introduction like this. And then the piece, the melody, begins. This 2-measure introduction is really one of the motives that Rachmaninoff is going to sprinkle throughout this piece. So I'd like to go into a little bit of detail just how he constructs it. This piece is in the key of A minor. And the melody starts with an upbeat. There's the A, the tonic. But look at the bass line. Does it sound like A minor? Not until there. These are parallels. 5ths going up chromatically for the bass. And now out above that we have a similar for the alto. If you put those together, all chromatic ascent in quarter notes. And above that is a skipping soprano line that sounds like this. This is actually pretty difficult to play because it's 2 parts for the right hand with 2 different touches. It's hard to track that, but what helped me is watching this. E to F is a half step. And now they each go away from each other by a half step. And away another half step. And away play another half step, and they merge on a major sixth right here. And all together, now the piece begins. Could you hear the violin part singing above? Concluding. I love this because these are mirror images. The first one starts and then he wraps it up the other direction. So that's one of your key things that are different about Rachmaninoff's version. Now let's take a look at the right hand part, because above the violin melody we have a set of parallel voices. I will play them together, starting on that sixth and coming together. And same thing for the next four measure phrase and the third four measure phrase. Together on a single note. And here's the concluding. I'm going to play in context and listen for the two voices below the melody. Gently play like that. These are staccato with a little slur, meaning portato. On Rachmaninoff's recording, he plays these so lovingly and so tenderly. By the way, that recording was in 1921 also. So he was steeped in this piece, writing it and then recording it the same year. That's 16 measures, 4 and 4 and 4 and 4. And it's following this format of really what is an 8 measure long phrase and then an 8 measure long phrase for a total of 16. And then both versions, Kreisler's and Rachmaninoff's, those 16 measures repeat right away again. But in Rachmaninoff's, it's a little bit different. And let's look now at the next 16 measures, what he does. Here's the first phrase. This is beginning measure 19. Starts the same with that same sixth. Now this is the difference. Ingenious, because the first time we had the F on the top, and the second time we have, now watch my hand here because I have to hold that fourth finger and right here. Do you hear that melody that way? Going on just the right hand alone, second 4 measure phrase, another one. And the third. That's just the right hand. Are you curious what the left hand is going to do? Well, I'd like to show you something I found extremely interesting, and in this chart package that I engraved for this piece, I'm going to start with one of the PDFs to show you here that I engraved using public domain music, showing and comparing the 16 measure opening for both Kreisler's version for violin and piano accompaniment, and right underneath I put Rachmaninoff's transcription. And you can see clearly here the first 4 measure phrase, this is in the Kreisler version. The second, here's the violin part, 4 measures. There's Rachmaninoff's underneath. The third 4 measure phrase here, and the final 4 measure phrase. So we get to really compare scrupulously what is the same and what is different in these 2 versions. So I'm going to play now just the Kreisler piano accompaniment. There will be no you'll have to imagine that. But this is what the pianist is playing in Kreisler's version. I'll play all 16 measures. Rachmaninoff is going to take all of that for just the left hand. Now let's see how much is the same, how much is different. He's going to have all these big leaps now because we got to do it with the 2 hands, and now it's all the left hand that's going to be dancing all over the keyboard in this waltz. He adds the descending. That's quite wonderful and beautiful. The last thing I'd like to point out while we're still looking at this comparison between Kreisler's and Rachmaninoff's, Kreisler gave the title Tempo de Ländler, and Rachmaninoff gave the title Tempo de Valse. And the Ländler was a popular folk dance in 3/4 time for 2 people, particularly in Vienna and Switzerland. That was the predecessor of the waltz, and it had a kind of skipping and hopping element to it. This was all done outside in the countryside, but the main thing is the construction was on an 8 measure phrase and another 8 measure phrase and at least 1 more repetition. So that's the point of these 8-8-8-8 long phrases. That's the form of the Ländler. And then the waltz, once the concert halls, performance halls, everything began to be indoors, quickened a little bit with the tempo and became a little more elegant, a little less foot stomping, and became the elegant Viennese waltz that we know today. And that's what Rachmaninoff was thinking about with his version, his beautiful transcription. So now we're going to compare the left hand of the second, the repetition, because this is where I think we can appreciate the very tasteful ways that Rachmaninoff is playing with the elements, still preserving the harmonic outlines. So here is the repetition of the next 16 measures in the left hand only. Here we have, just like the first 2 measures, they're the same. Now, instead of this, he's doing a gorgeous run for the bass like this. Those are the same chords as this. And then another gorgeous run, ascending. And a third 4 measure phrase. Now this is my favorite one. And what that really is 2 voices, clearly the bass in these quarter notes. Gorgeous chord. How does he get to that 10th? together with a crescendo in the middle and a diminuendo to close. And that's the end of what I call the A section. And now I'm going to tell you on this piece is a very, very simple form of an A section, a B section, and a C section. And then everything repeats again. An A, a B, a C, of slightly different lengths on the repetition for Kreisler's version, and a little tiny coda at the end. Rachmaninoff preserves all of that and adds a longer coda at the end and a dazzling cadenza, which is a 10-measure unending improvisation that's probably one of the most dazzling things in the piece, in between the second B section and C section. Otherwise, the forms are very, very much the same of Kreisler's and Rachmaninoff's. Now we're going to go to the B section, and both of the versions have an immediate key change to F major. Kreisler does this on his violin writing. Rachmaninoff, instead of the upbeats, does this marvelous arpeggio. Second to a 4-measure phrase. Now the next 4 measures are actually one continuous 8 for the B section. And this is the violin for the 8 measures. So one uninterrupted descending line. And Rachmaninoff does the exact line. Let's take the right hand alone, because underneath it is just like the beginning. We have that pair of alto voices adding additional harmonies and interest. We just play actually from the alto line alone. First the F, then drop to the E, and then the D sharp, the D natural, and D C. And if you put the melody with that, that I'm always sustaining one of the notes, one of the melody notes, and the accompaniments are light and delicate. That's the Lindler, that's the skipping and the hopping, always on your feet, a little bit on your tiptoes. So when you play this piece, if you do play it, this is an advanced piece, but if you play it, be sure to make a difference between these two parts. So Rachmaninoff has given very explicit directives where the notes are staccato and where they're sustained. Now let's take a look at the left hand at this B section. And the hands join, the tenor here and the alto parallel. That's a little counter idea for measures 3 and 4. Here's the next 4-measure phrase, left hand alone. And here's measures 3 and 4. This is so beautiful how he's thinking of that. All the while, the violin is very beautiful. Let's put that all together now with the pickup, this arpeggio. Do you see the dance? I mean, they're just on their feet there. Joyful, it's F major. The sorrow's gone for a little bit. idea. When I heard that, I go, yeah, that's 1921. That's the roaring 20s. They're right there, this jazzy element. Not in Kreisler's at all. Why not? He was surrounded with it. And the hands together there. This is a great line here. We have, and then, extremely complicated here. Repetition. Now, another tenor ascending line like we had on the part A. And another alto embellishment under the second level. Gorgeous line. I'll bring it out loudly so you can follow it. And that line by itself in measure 59, alto alone. Left hand. Do you hear that? Play it slowly at first, especially while you get to know these gorgeous, interesting harmonic combinations. And this everything together now for the close of part B. We only have one more part, the part C. But before we do that, I'd like to show you now the other PDFs that come in this chart package that I have just engraved. I'm really thrilled to have been able to engrave this piece using public domain. And what I'm reading from on my page 1 and my page 2, I will hold up stacked one under the other because the page 1 is completely your part A and your page 2 is completely your part B. And that's one of the things I was thrilled about with this chart, is that all of the sections get one page. It's so clear and clean cut, so easy to learn. And all of the systems, which this is one system, I'll take my trusty protractor here and go across here 8 measures. Well, there are 10 on this first system because of the 2 measure intro. And then 8 for the second system, third system 8, fourth system 8. That's your A section, your B section now with some green colors as opposed to blue marks because I color coded this. I'll show you in another example, the CSA coming up soon. 8 measures, system 1, system 2, 8 measures, system 3, 8 measures, system 4. And what's so beautiful about this is you can actually compare when I had the alto counter melody here on the first time and the repetition down here. The measures line up. You can follow note for note the simplicity of the first time with the yellow alto and the second time with the chromatic embellished descending motive. So it's really, really easy to see all of the elements with this engraving. There's 7 pages altogether. You're going to say, well, I really like those colors. Your 7-page engraving comes black and white like this. You can see real clear here the simplicity and cleanliness of this with lots of spaces in between. If you look at traditional music of this piece, there's no inch of open square space. It's just jammed with notes, but being able to pull it apart in this order that I do and rearrange into long systems that reflect the musical phrases that the piece is. It's a piece, it's a look at a glance at what's really going on here. So 7 of these in the black and white. I really love looking at this. Lots of fingerings in this too. The edition that I was public domain had no fingerings at all, and I've been working on this engraving for at least 4 years, maybe 6 years, laboriously entering in all of my own fingerings. And then I'll show you the other vertical supplies in your chart package. There are 5 different PDFs in this chart package. This is the vertical 11-inch by 17-inch satellite view. All still black and white, your page 1 and 2, and your page 3 and 4. This is the entire piece. And I have to make this one first before I can then make. And those of you that have watched my lessons before and purchased charts, and by the way, if you want to get your own chart package, you go to my website, sallychristianmusic.com. These are digital downloads, and you take your PDFs to a print shop and have them printed on heavy 60-pound cardstock. And they're really, I think they're visual works of art. And here we have it, the complete piece. This says everything. You've got the 3 different sections, A, B, and C, color-coded. In the blue box is section A. The green boxes are section B, and the pink, section C. And they're all equal length. It's 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. All the way through. It's a straight grid piece. And then we have the recapitulation. And going on to our second 2 pages, your blue box, finish at the top. Your green box, which is a shortened statement of the 8 measures, just like Kreisler does, with this fabulous cadenza that I put in the yellow box. And then the final appearance of the C section and Rachmaninoff's extended coda at the end. Kreisler's version ends here, and this is all additional material that Rachmaninoff has so thoughtfully and elegantly written. This is really it is a masterpiece. So we will look at that again. There are 2 more engravings, PDFs, the comparing of the measures 1 through 16, which we already did, and the last one is the addendum for the cadenza. And I've gone into a lot of descriptives here of we'll get into in the lesson how to practice this, how to listen, how to break it down so that this becomes doable and a joy to play. All right, now I said we were going to go on to the C section next. So I can put this here. And again, as the B section was prefaced with an arpeggio, Rachmaninoff is doing another arpeggio, but guess what? What key do you think you would do? Well, Kreisler picked, instead of the home key, tonic A minor, he went to the parallel A major. So the C section is in major. Life's good. The sorrow has left us for a while. And we start with a beautiful arpeggio like that. And I hear this as a violin gliding like a glissando. And Kreisler is noted for that in his playing. And we're fortunate to have actual recordings of both Rachmaninoff and Kreisler. I highly recommend that you listen to them. Kreisler's Berlin recording from 1930 with a solo piano accompaniment, and then 12 years later with orchestral accompaniment, and you can hear the evolution in his playing. It's just, you'll learn so much by listening to these recordings and how fortunate we are to have them. So now, what is Kreisler going to give us for the melody of part C? He's going to give a simple skipping and hopping. That's the 4 measures and 4 measures. And then just like with part B, we have an extended 8 measures, like this. Now let's take a look at all of these notes are in here. And in the accompaniment of this C section, the piano part has something that Rachmaninoff cued off of. And I'm first just going to play this. It only happens in the part C's that Kreisler wrote. Here's the piano accompaniment. It's this triplet. And then, well, guess what Rachmaninoff did? He took that triplet idea and he built his C section entirely on triplets. It's just a spectacular imagination that he has here. So there are lots and lots of notes. Let's take this slowly now. These are all going to be... Oh, and I wanted to say to blur this chord, make it sound like it's blurring and then easing off like the glissando of the violin. I use a little pedal and then clear the chord. And he has ties written. This is tight and this is tight. So it automatically lifts into the pure A major triad. He wrote that in. You don't even need pedal. Leggero and pianissimo on those. Here's the next 4 measure phrase. And the next 8 measures. Here's a characteristic kind of like that idea, but in the form of the left hand. Now this does also with the tie. Right there, holds the C sharp and lifts for the 3rd. That's really the line, which is taken with the right hand. See, he's using those punctuated 2-note chords, or the 2 chords for beats for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th measures, just like he did at the beginning of the piece. He's doing that throughout this part C too. Next phrase, next 4 measure phrase. Play it like this. This is normally taken with the right hand. I'm dissecting this. So these are really different patterns I'm asking my fingers to do for the lesson. Next 8 measure concluding phrase. Drop down to the D with the 5th finger. For the last 8 measures. together here. And this is the Elegant Waltz. When life was good, these pieces that Kreisler wrote so many of these, all between the years of 1905 up until World War I, this really was the end of an era, pre-World War I, when life was beautiful and good, certainly for the people that could enjoy this kind of music. Without having, the world wars changed everything. This is a time when they didn't have that. So it's reflected in the elegance and the grace and the joy and the freedom of this writing. So hands together now. Let's do that again. Next phrase. Last 8 measure phrase. And the repetition. And this time, instead of triplets, he just gives quintuplets in the right hand. And instead of this chord, for the first time he does, next 4 measure phrases. Another set of quintuplets. First time we had left hand. Second time we have way up here. The last now. And the closing 2 measure cadence, simply an ascending scale. A major. And the left hand, here's this jazzy again. Listen to this chord. See how he's blurry? Do you think he was having fun doing this? That's what I mean. It was the perfect outlet for him to make this transcription. He got to use all of these wonderfully inventive ideas, reflecting the time he was in of 1921, the Roaring '20s. A couple of differences here I'd like to still point out. I'm going to show you my music here. If you're going to learn the piece, it's exceedingly important in a piece that has a lot of similar material but key differences to know where the differences occur. And that's what I marked as with this first 4 measure phrase, this ending, those chords, the repetition right directly below system 1, system 3, those chords. The end of the first, these chords, and the repetition, those chords. So pay attention to the left hand closing 4th measures and compare those differences. Now in measure 3, here we have down to the D in the left hand. I marked a big arrow down to 5th finger, and the last time up to the thumb on the G. Now that may seem kind of a little tedious to have to track these things, but you don't want to play the wrong one because then you'll take the wrong turn possibly. So I always tell myself the first time left hand down to 5, the second time left hand up to the thumb, and that has never failed me. First time down 5. Repetition. Chords. Make it as elegant as you can. It's still a waltz. Here it comes, the left hand thumb. G with the thumb. off the importance of taking hands alone and savor these harmonies. Let's say you had a really busy day and you only had 10 minutes to practice, but you didn't want to not practice that day. So take your third page of your edition of engraving here and just work on one of these 4 systems. Or if you have 20 minutes, compare system 1 and 3, systems 2 and 4, and do that for hands alone at a slow tempo. Now, you will learn this so thoroughly, and you'll love the work. It's just delicious to practice this way. So we've now completed our opening sections A, B, and C, and we go back, as Kreisler did, to our part A again. And Rachmaninoff is doing some pretty extraordinary things here, and what I'm going to do is to compare the 2 part A's. And being that this edition is loose leaf, I can take my part A's alone. I don't have to fumble through a book. They're right here. This is the first page. This is the 4th page. These are both the part A's. And I'm going to put these side by side on the music rack so that we can actually easily compare and appreciate what's the same and what's the difference. So I'm going to start with the right hand. First, we had in measures 3 beginning, page 1 here, just to refresh your ears again what Rachmaninoff starts with. Now he's going to take, he still has this melody, but look what he's putting underneath. Now that, the outline of harmonies is still there. It's just in a different order and now in these skipping 8th notes. And the second 4-measure phrase. And the third 4-measure phrase. And the fourth 4-measure phrase. So go and compare those back and forth. You'll see it's exactly the same harmonic idea, but a little bit different. Now the alto here is making a hidden, which we only have now in the recapitulation. Very simple. That's going to come in the repetition, the next 16 measures, 4 and 4, 4 and 4, in a splendid way. But hang on to that thought, because I have to go through this left hand first and show you the differences here. Here is the opening on your page 1, left hand, to refresh your ears. And these are the brushing. Now what's he going to do on the recapitulation? This is what he's going to do. And then, this is fabulous here. You know, I looked at that A flat so many times. It's a diminished 5th, A flat to D. I thought, that's really pretty wild there. And now they measures 1 through 4 first time. Here it is. G to G flat, and now you'll see where that pungent note, how he fits it in. Here's the recapitulation. With the skipping. Here's the G flat. So those 2, and this is just again, so completely avant-garde. I mean, he was really pushing the envelope here with this, but it comes from or left hand. Another of the skipping. This is very difficult. But there's another part there at the end. If we put the hands together in this closing measures, measure 1, 11. Oh, those are beautiful. Let's do that again. But over it, he's doing, between those, he's doing these cross rhythms. One, yeah, da, 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 for the two hands. And that you put that together there, we get this. This is the closing 4-measure phrase. This is an incredible 4 measures here. And where have we heard that? Fast. I'll try this fast now so you can just watch this dazzling virtuosity that Rachmaninoff asks us to do. And so, listen for this. Now we go to the repetition. And remember I said the alto? Now he's taking that same thing, putting it up an octave. But that last note, he moves up an octave. So here is the pattern. Measure 115, the repetition. That's what you're wanting to hear. Is what you want, but he does. And then another stunning conclusion. That's the alto part. Here's our melody. But that changes to this. This is treacherously difficult. Those little skipping, we have these, and the next 4-measure phrase ends. Do you think he's having fun with that? You want the third element that just blows my mind? Jazzy chords. These are all 7ths. Brace your ears for these now. Let's do that again. That's exactly what's in here. And then the repetition down a step. That just amazes me. And it's the whole written part now for the right hand alone. Slowly, see if you can listen to those 7ths that I just played. Here. And then, so wild. Now he does this in the right hand, the top note I mean. And under is that 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1. That's all one hand. Now I pull down with my arms here. One of the passages in the piece for me. And the left hand does this. Would you believe in that left hand right there, he does this. And repeats the whole thing. See if you can hear those 2-measure repetitions of descending notes when I play it as written. A repetition. It's really great. And the last step I want to show you on this very difficult, between the 2 pages 1 and 4. And I'm spending a fair amount of time now on the lesson with these 2 repetitions of the A sections. The 16 measures for the first time and the 16 measures for the recapitulation second time. It was just astounding to me to compare and see that the harmonic outline is the same. Here is measure 19 on page 1. Left hand alone. Here's the tenor ascending. And here it is, that same repetition on page 4. You'll hear the same. See? Sorry. Practice the first time and go to the second time, the recapitulation. Same thing. Now, first time. And then this one. First time was this beautiful here. Second time. Now he's doing that same gorgeous ascent like this. And we arrive at the B section. And that is going to be, I hope, helpful for you comparing those 2 pages 1 and 4. Oh gosh, you'll just appreciate so much what's in here. Okay, here's now the last time for the part B, and it's a shortened part B. Doesn't have 16 measures. He starts like this, and it's con passione in the violin part. Harmonically, I'll play it as written. Listen for that now. Rachmaninoff does yum. And in between we have these delightful, between the 2 hands, sort of yipping. So practice it that way too, all together now. Listen, listen. This is 1921. Oh, so beautiful. Okay, now I can't wait to work from this addendum for the cadenza. And what I ended on right now was called measure 149. And this absolutely astounded me. It doesn't look anything like this in any other book of this piece you will find, because I grouped it now the way it really is, with this measure 149 starting here, going all the way up to the top, and then from here at the top, going all the way down in one long 5 measures descent, concluding right here, and then finally our part C comes again. Remember, this cadenza is in between part B and part C. So this I found so helpful that I decided to make a separate PDF to help dissect this more easily for you and for myself too. I learned a tremendous amount when I did this. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is that these are not solid bar lines. These are all dashed bar lines. Here, 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 and finally a solid at measure 150. So this is all measure 149. What is it? It's, of course, it's an improvisation. And you know, when people heard Rachmaninoff playing, he played so fast and so clean and really hardly used any pedal, that when he played sections like this, so fast and clean, it really gave the impression that it was improvised. Just so effortless and free, where he had actually meticulously prepared it all out. So now I enlarged this same cadenza. That's exactly what you get in your chart package, just a little bigger for the lesson video. And now I'm going to show you this opening measure 49 starts with, I'll first just play it for you. To the top. Now that's an awful lot of notes to learn, and so to break it down, this is how I put these marks of a bass note with the E, then the first one these are what I eyeball, these are the anchor notes, the B, and these are all played in the left hand. Then the second anchor note is the G sharp, the third anchor note is the D, the fourth is the B, and the fifth is the D. So now let me play that, and I will call out those notes. This is tricky because it's constantly, there's no set pattern. This is not just an arpeggio. You go, oh, it's an A minor arpeggio. I know how to do that. This is not, there's nothing in here that's predictable. So slowly now, here's the E and the bass. The B, number 1. Number 2, the G sharp left hand. Number 3, the D left hand. Number 4, the B left hand. And number 5, the D. That's pretty easy because that just repeats. So if I were to go slowly now and block these, I would have these fingerings only. And they alternate left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. And this one repeats. Now this one repeats. Okay, and then when you put it all together, I'm watching these anchor notes. B, G sharp. Now we're at the top. Now we're at measure 150. That was all measure 149. So let's notice here that I have 4 colors that I used, color coding. I'll show you on right here. The right hand finger in the pink circle, the right hand first finger in the blue circle, the left hand first finger in the green circle, and all of these orange notes here are a 29 note chromatic descent, mostly played with the 5th finger of the left hand, but occasionally a thumb when you have 2 notes, 2 notes, 2 notes, 2 notes, 2 notes. Okay, so now let's just see how this all works. And I'm going to really try to break this down into the progressive steps. For me, the first thing are the anchor notes, which are the outers, which is going to be the pink circles for the 5th finger right hand and the orange circles of the left hand. That's what we watch. Those are the big outer anchor notes. Now we're going to fill in. This is like a cake. I mean, you have your outers or like a sandwich, and then you're going to fill in with all the interesting filling, and he's filling in with some extraordinary chordal combinations. So we're going to take the easy ones first. These are the outers, starting right here with the E. Next one, drop to the C. Next one, drop to the A. And drop to the E. Now they come in pairs. E, F, D, E flat, B natural C, A sharp. So the first 3 have this weaving idea. Ya-da-da-da, ya-da-da-dee, ya-da-da-da. And then in pairs. Ya-da-da-dee, ya-da-da-dee. And then a loop. So that's not hard. You can do that. Now let's take the blue circles underneath that. This sounds like this. That had a whole step there. Everything was half steps until there. Now we drop to the pairs. And now I can rock back and forth between my 5 and 1 and play the pink circle and the blue circle. This is the next step. I'm actually going to block these first. Ending with the octave there. And ending with the octave here. Do you hear how easy that is? If you'll just play these in tiny little steps. Then it all goes octaves. And all minor 6. Let's take the orange circles now on the left hand. All chromatic. Gorgeous, gorgeous line. Here are the green circles. I love this melody. That one just stays, just hovers. and you get all those circles together, the pink, green, blue, and orange, and you get this. Another jazz chord there. Measure 150. Okay, now comes my favorite part because it's the hardest. And I'm going to tell you, this is just totally off the cuff. But it's a relevant association that sprung from my deep memory. When I was doing lots of performing with orchestra, playing concerti, and of course that's all from memory, and there was typically a cadenza where the orchestra drops out and there's nobody playing except the soloist. And these are notoriously difficult. The heartbeat goes up quite a few beats during a cadenza. Oh no, the cadenza is what I used to feel. And my husband, we've been married 32 years, and he's been with me on this journey and has been an enormous help to me and guide to me. And we talk about the music. And he would tell me, no, you don't want to go, oh no, the cadenza. You want to go, oh boy, the cadenza. So how do you turn it in from an oh no into an oh boy? You learn it thoroughly. You learn it so well, you know it better than any other part of the piece. And then it's fun. But you have to put the work in, and you have to know how to work. And that's what I'm going to show you right now with, this is the last step. These are the inner chords. And I'm going to show you the music here. Oh, I put it over here. I want to come in close here and have you look at, we've got a pink circle and a blue, a pink and a blue, and a pink and a blue. I am going to play now as blue notes being the first of a 3-note broken chord. The blue note is my anchor note. With the same idea in reverse, for the left hand, the top green circle is my anchor note, and those chords go up to that circle. So I'm going to take those 3 notes of all of these broken chords and play for you now in blocked form. You will just be amazed how easy this is once you get these patterns. Here's the first measure. Actually, I'll break it because you can hear it better. Now we had this one blocked, and the third one was the same as the first. That's the magic here. Here's the first one of the next measure. That's a D minor. Here's the next one. And back to the D minor. And here's the fourth one. Next measure. This sounds weird, but that's what it is. And back to that one. And going on. Here are the pairs. Isn't that beautiful? Now the left hand going up to your green circles, which do this. Like that. These are the chords. It's beautiful. See, it could be a standalone. This by itself, I could hear a piece just built on this. Oh, gorgeous. So take some fun. Turn this into something fun. I used to always ask my students to make up their own exercises. I'd say what you have to do. You know, the exercise here is to take different broken chords for the 2 hands and put it together as a piece. And here is what Rachmaninoff did using that idea. I'm going to stop after each one so you can hear how they speak and interrelate. to each other. See, that one was really different. Here's the next measure. Gorgeous. Next measure. And after all that dissonance, they merge on B flat major. And then if I block, this is really wild. Oh, that's right. Don't you love it? All together now. See if you can hear that. I don't expect that you will, but knowing it's in there, you're not going to have anxiety when you play it. And part C, A major. I think they both just adored this moment in the piece, Rachmaninoff and Kreisler, when they got to the final C section. I certainly do adore it. And these in your chart package are pages 6 and 7. And I'm going to show you those back to back. This is all in pink because this is how the piece ends. And we have our characteristic 8 measures, actually divided into 4 and 4 and 8. The repetition, 4 and 4 and 8. And then comes the coda, when he does some amazing things here. Can't wait to show you these dashed orange boxes that he's used as that bookends template for the 2-measure intro and close of the first 16 measures that we found. Okay, so here we are, and just imagine pre-World War I, Vienna, elegant ballroom, and there's joy and grace and ease and really happiness in the air here. And we start. There's the next long 8-measure phrase. The alto's getting another big roll here. Absolutely stunning things here. Kreisler does his Now when he does the repetition, Kreisler, he does something different because we're saying goodbye. This is what Kreisler writes for the violin on the repetition here. That lovely 5th. This is so beautiful, so poignant. And Rachmaninoff is preserving that by doing this. Oh, this is really... And then he does this descant, is what I call it. Which you can hear buried in there. But he has notes underneath for the alto that do this. And then, now if you put those together slowly, Rachmaninoff, I believe, is paying homage to virtuoso violin writing with the use of double stops. And that's one of the most difficult things for violinists to do when you have two voices playing at once. So they're playing intervals all the time. You usually hear them playing single melodic lines, but with double stops they're playing double melodic lines like this. This could be all played as double stops on the violin. And then he does the same idea for the descant. Next four measures. Slowly here because this is another one of those extremely difficult passages. And I broke this down for my own listening in intervals. A sixth, and an octave, and a tenth. Now the next four measures have different intervals. They have seventh, ninth, and 11th. Now let me play it in context and see if you can hear 6th, 8th, 10th, and then 7th, 9th, 11th. Here's now the next four measures with 7th, 9th, 11th. So this cascade is replicating that's what Rachmaninoff is doing, and as written now, everything together. Oh, I want to play the left hand first. That's jazzy. Measures. He's bringing us down. Now this is interesting. Here Rachmaninoff uses no pedal. He does. I personally didn't ever play it that way, but it's definitely something to consider. I will be repeating that again. I'll show you how I use a little bit of pedal there. I don't use any pedal here. I like just a little bit. Now here's our coda. Now the left hand has they're talking to each other with these broken thirds. So he's taking F natural, G sharp, F sharp, as with these. F sharp, F natural, F sharp, F natural. Which is it? Is it F sharp or is it F natural? There's a real reason for him playing around with this. In the key of A major, F sharp would be, and F natural would be, to be a signature motive of Rachmaninoff, which came with the minor, the lowered, originally from his first famous prelude in C sharp minor. And then he wrote the 24 preludes, and the last one, Opus 32, number 13, in D flat major. Ends the same idea here now. So he's doing a little nod back to his own compositions and the power of the lowered 651 and then the major when it comes, the 651. That's what I think is going on here. So now we have and the right hand over here now is doing, this is a lovely bit of, again, improvisatory ideas. I'm going to go slowly. This is another one of those really tricky passages. G natural, C sharp, A, oh sorry, G sharp. So the outlines are, even there. I didn't know that till just now. Isn't that interesting? So, as well as very beautiful, a double idea. Stunning. That's what I mean. You never stop discovering. You get a mind like Rachmaninoff. It's just on a whole other, just a whole other plane of enlightened intelligence. And did you know, I have to share this with you, that Rachmaninoff could learn a piece in one day just by looking at the music. And when he came to the United States and had to start making his living as a concert pianist, he had to build his repertoire and fast. And because he was expected to play everywhere and he couldn't play the same program every time. And he was just learning music like crazy. And the people would hear him play, and one of the conductors gave him a piece, and the next day he said, okay, play it for me, for memory, and he did. It was just astounding what he could do. So this man had a memory and a mind and a facility that I don't think anybody has ever had before. Yu Wang comes pretty close. She can learn things in 3 days. She's another extraordinary mind, and who's living today. Just these people come as comets, and we can't compare ourselves. We have to just admire and love them and embrace them, that there are humans that are like that. We're all in this together, and what one person has doesn't take away from you. If you don't have it, you have something else. So that will help you too, this competitive energy in this field, not just the classical piano, it's in all of the arts and the sports. It's really unfortunate if we could just support each other in a loving, appreciative spirit. Everybody wins that way. It lifts all of our boats. So here, I can't remember even where I was on this, but here's the beginning of the coda. I was playing slowly, that's right. Again. It's so hard to play slow like this out of context. Kreisler ends. And that's how the piece ends. The piano's going. beautiful too. But Rachmaninoff takes it further. We got that in there. Those sevenths, remember in the B section, those things, all that. Here it is. And then I'm sorry, I'm just so delighted by this. It just makes me laugh. And I put in my, I'm laughing out of joy and reverence. I put these in the dashed orange boxes because they do refer to the opening. And I'm going to just take this color structural analysis. I said I'd come back to it, and I will, just to show you these orange boxes here. Where I am in the piece is here. He's got these two orange boxes right there. He had one at the end of the cadenza. Oh, I forgot to mention that. That idea is just like and then we have on our first pages 1 and 2 the original orange box to start and to close, and then we have one here at the end of the first B section and here. So look for those, because that's one of his signature ideas, and here he's doing a back-to-back doubling. And the next one, the right hand does this up. Outline notes are anchor notes. That's beautiful. And one last A major arpeggio. And the piece is over. This last arpeggio, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, and there it is. 6, 5, 1. The left hand right there. That's going into a hemiola there. We had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. The rhythmic displacement then takes the same 2-measure length, but we have 3 units instead of 2. Of that A major triad down in the bass is really just magnificent and simple. And he has a fermata at the end. He wants you to hold that. So now to close the lesson, I would like to tell you why Liebesleid means so much to me. I'm going to show you in the form of a photograph. And this is, guess who? The man playing the violin is my father. And the little baby who's 6 months old in the chair is me. My mom took this picture. And this is how I was raised, listening to classical music and violin music. I was immersed in it and saturated in it. And I don't know if you can see the hands on here, but this little 6-month-old is digging this music. And later, when I got to be a little older, I played Liebesleid with my dad. And we used to play every Sunday. We would read through music, and he loved Kreisler. He played all of Kreisler's encores, and this was one of his favorite pieces that we played together. And so I have been listening to Liebesleid since I was really, really little. And I always wanted to play the violin. I would have loved to have played it on the violin, but because Rachmaninoff transcribed it for piano, I can play it. And I have love sorrow inside my heart. My dad is no longer alive and died tragically in a plane crash 40 years ago. So young, and that was the end of our playing music together. Very difficult, but as the years go on, all of you who have lost a loved one, you know, over time, it's the memories of love that stay in our hearts. And my dad is with me every time I play this piece. I hope, I didn't mean to break down like this, but I hope this has been helpful for you, and I've really enjoyed sharing Liebesleid with you. Thank you.